I think the next 5 years will be all about transformation before we get into a completely more automated or an AI driven world. So yes, I feel we are into a middle of a big transformation. But I don't think so it is going to hit us in 2 years. I think it will take those 5 years, but beyond those 5 years, we will definitely see the roles more evolved, and especially HR roles, which are a combination of human and technology.
Has technology changed HR leadership today?
Yes, absolutely. And I talk about this consistently. I think AI will speeden up the decisions. AI will bring in quality, but I still feel it will augment the human intelligence or the human touch. We are not yet there that where AI can take over the entire processes.
There is also another side of the whole AI-led automation, which is essentially to add personalization at scale. Be it customer experience, be it candidate experience, be it employee experience, be it like creating that one-on-one but very relevant at scale, everybody having the same sort of consistent experience. This is an area where I think AI has gone a lot further, and some of those would essentially come and become part of the HR lifecycle as well. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Hyreo Rise series of podcasts. Today is an exciting day for me because I've got somebody who can give me a very wide perspective of what's happening in the world of HR and HR technology. Somebody who has led, change, led transformation, led, managing large transformations at scale in person. He also comes with a lot of global experience managing teams globally from Southeast Asia to APAC to Europe. A pleasure to welcome Harsh from Daimler Truck Innovation Center to our podcast session today. Thank you so much, Harsh, for joining us today.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you for the invitation and thank you for the opportunity to be here on this podcast. And thank you for the gracious words.
Oh, lovely. It's an honor to have you, Harsh. And it's an honor to, again, speak to you about, the CHRO's perspective on what's happening in the world of HR technology, primarily in the context of AI and what we are seeing around. And in the next 20-25 minutes or so, and for the audience, we're going to go through some of those technology-led changes that are happening. How is AI impacting it? How is large enterprises looking at AI in HR and talent acquisition, and of course, our 2 cents on how this is going to evolve in the next decade or so. So let's get started without losing time on. Now, the first thing, because of your background, Harsh, I'm taking the liberty to ask you this question, slightly, personal as well. Now, you've led so many such HR implementations. You've done transformation projects in the past. So, as a CHRO, as a head of HR in an enterprise, how do you sort of manage that selection implementation process? What's the criteria that you usually have? Because every decade you have something new. So, how do you see this evolving, and how have you managed that change?
Arun, transformation projects are always intense. And especially when it comes to huge transformation projects, technology transformations, and so on and so forth. So your selection, of your technology or your technology environment is, I think, the first step. And obviously, in terms of you have to look at technology that complies to your values of your company, the strategy of your company, and so on and so forth. At the same time, you have to look at in terms of what kind of an environment you want to set up, and it depends on the context of your company. And I generally kind of analyze it in terms of, do you want a technology environment which is like one diamond environment, or a necklace of diamonds. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
you are committed to one technology, and then you kind of implement it across your functions and so on, and then you commit to that technology. That is one way of doing things. On the other hand, you have smaller technologies which have their own USPs that they bring on the table, and then you connect them to get the best out of all of these technologies that could coexist, right? And this is generally the decision that CIOs and CHROs these days debate upon in terms of what kind of an environment suits best. And these are the debates that I consistently have within my company. Thankfully, within our company, HR and HR tech goes hand in hand and work very, very closely. But these are some of those initial questions that one needs to ask in terms of as you start building your own technology environment.
Right. That's a valid point. And I really wanted to hear that from you and set the whole, session up from there on, because I know that you have a keen eye for looking at different products, evaluating them with close quarters, not being biased to something and select what works best in each scenario. And given the pace of that change, I think that's a better approach, which I would kind of agree to. But that leaves one question for a lot of HR leaders, moving from legacy to new age tools, right? Now, we've seen that, at least my knowledge in the space is, at least in the last 30 years or so, the traditional HCMs have not really changed a lot. All the big, 3 or 4, product companies in that HCM space, they've been in that fairly the same kind of capabilities for the last 20, 30 years or so. As you're doing this transformation, this digital, this AI-led transformation, right? Any best practices that you would see, you've seen that you would like to share for folks who are trying to do a more staggered, more emerging technologies, if I may, into the whole HR space?
One of the things that I have always felt is in terms of tech, as you build a technology landscape, is basically one is to first have your basics right. That first the journey starts with technically automation. That you get your automation right, that your functions are well served with in terms of technology, their processes are well automated, and hence, when I remember when we started this transformation journey in my erstwhile company, we had kept very, very 2 or 3 very solid focus areas. One is we wanted robust integration because we had legacy systems, and we wanted to ensure that there is no duplication of effort happening, and hence we wanted robust integration. Second, we wanted paperless. We wanted to go paperless. And the third, if I remember correctly, is we wanted one source of truth. If I went to my operations leader, he or she gave me the same numbers. If I went to my controller, he or she gave me the same number. Or if I went to my talent acquisition leader, then he or she also gave me the same number. So these were the 3, main things that we began our journey, principles that based on which we designed our journey on automation. Before we moved on to then came mobile, with technology, so that we could have apps that we could take all the decisions on the go. And then now you get into the world where you want to integrate AI into all your functions and slowly want to leverage on on the predictive intelligence that you gather through data over the year, and build on AI as you go ahead in this journey. So that's how. So you start with the basics, you get the basics right, then you come to something like getting mobile, and then I think the next step is to integrate AI into the journey.
Lovely. I think that's a solid framework. Get your basics right first and start taking steps which are taking you closer to one or the other objectives that you might have. That's about leadership view on technology. Let me put the converse question to you, Harsh. Has technology changed HR leadership today?
Yes, absolutely. and I talk about this consistently, within my uh, teams. Um, and this is a very personal opinion, and I feel as we go ahead in HR, and HR is going to be is being transformed by technology. There are going to be two or three profiles that are going to emerge in HR. Our first profile is people who can work well with humans and human psychology, because as you go ahead, that is still going to have its relevance, because world is going to be so complex that corporates or the businesses are going to look for HR professionals who can work well with and who can understand the humans better than they can understand. And hence all those competencies in terms of understanding a human being, working well with teams, that's a profile that is going to be really the need of the hour. Apart from that, you will need those HR professionals that can merge HR functional knowledge with technology, who can work at ease with technology and who can merge their HR functional knowledge with that technology. And the third profile that I see is those HR professionals who are at ease with working with technology, who can adapt to technologies, you can integrate technology better. So these are the three profiles that I see emerging as HR evolves going into the future. While a lot of the roles will evolve, a lot of repetitive work will get automated through AI, through machine learning, and so on and so forth. But what will still remain? HR will become a lot about technology and about the human being.
Great. Now, because you're talking about technology, and everybody essentially understands the need for AI, and in HR, talent acquisition is no different. But let me ask some pointed questions in terms of where AI is coming in today. One major area where organizations struggle, both in terms of time, cost, and quality, is talent acquisition. There's a lot of pressure from business. There's a lot of pressure from the market. So it's a tough situation to be in, especially in this place where there's a lot of pressure to get top talent. In your experience using AI, in your experience experimenting with AI, screening to interviewing to shortlisting, there's a whole set of activities where today AI products are basically trying to challenge the status quo. Now, in your opinion, has AI enhanced this whole process for better hiring decisions? Has it speeded up the whole process? Has it improved the quality? What's your view on practically how AI has been effective or not on the ground?
I think AI will speeden up the decisions. AI will bring in quality, but I still feel it will augment the human intelligence or the human touch. We are not yet there that where AI can take over the entire processes. Primarily, I think it will hasten, will make the function more agile. It will help you make better decisions. And hence, in that, as you get there, you also have to build good AI models that are devoid of bias. AI models that can be reviewed from time to time and audited from time to time, because obviously AI models are built on past data. So from that perspective, I feel AI will make the world better, but AI will always be an augmentation force and not the only force that you can depend on. And hence, a combination of human intervention and AI will be the story for I feel for the next few years, till the time probably technology evolves better, where you get into a completely technology evolved world. But I find it difficult to envisage a world fully run by AI. So I think for the time being, it will be the best models will be those models which give scope for human intervention, augmented by AI.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we are hearing this quite often. AI plus human is the future. It's not like AI alone, and human in the loop is always going to be there. But you touched upon something very interesting: bias, and bias because of AI. Um, I mean, do you think it's a significant problem? And if so, what can organizations do essentially to keep it under check, right? And of course, audit, as you mentioned, is one definitive piece. But anything else that you would suggest organizations to keep in mind to avoid that bias?
I think you need to have very clear principles when you build an AI model. Is what are the clear principles on which you build that AI model, and you consistently need to question yourself in terms of whether is there in a way some bias creeping into your model, and hence you need to have the way in terms of consistently reviewing your model and checking the results in terms of to see whether any bias is creeping in. And finally, at the end of the day, you will need to have governance, whether it is audits or whether it is code reviews, whatever that we want to say, in terms of some kind of governance to see how your AI model is as independent or as bias less as possible. But yes, I think the primary thing is the principles, the basic principles on which you start building your AI model. How clear those principles are, and how do you then keep on reviewing and keep on looking critically at your product from a bias perspective.
Right. I mean, decision making with AI, one of the biggest challenge that at least startups like us and organizations like us who are trying to build AI solutions for enterprises, we face is this question on bias and traceability and what happens. But there is also another side of the whole AI-led automation, which is essentially to add personalization at scale. Be it customer experience, be it candidate experience, be it employee experience, be it like creating that one-on-one but very relevant at scale, everybody having the same sort of consistent experience. This is an area where I think AI has gone a lot further, and some of those would essentially come and become part of the HR lifecycle as well. For example, candidate experience. You're dealing with hundreds of thousands of candidates a week, if not a month, and organizations like yours would be attracting quite a bit of applicants, and the way we deal with them obviously is not humanly possible. There's no question of bias there, but there's a question of AI being able to do that personalization at scale. Right? Your views on that, Harsh?
Absolutely, and I'm excited about that space, Arun, in terms of this whole space of personalized experience. And I think this is also going in the fact that talent is a rare commodity, right? And from that perspective, you need to basically put across your strongest suit while you as an organization to attract the best talent to your company, and hence experience is at the forefront. And if you can then personalize that experience, then that is the cherry on the cake, right? So from that perspective, I feel personalization of experience, whether it is candidate experience or even employee experience, if an organization, I can really connect with and emotionally connect with a candidate, if I can offer a personalized experience to him or her, right, while he or she is being hired or is being onboarded, right? If I can enhance that and connect with that person on a personalized level, I think I have emotionally connected with this person. At the same time, I think that personalization will not end just at candidate experience, but I'm sure it is going to also flow into corporate lives in terms of personalized employee experience. Whether it is in terms of the healthcare policies that you provide, which kind of take care of your personalized individual situations, or in terms of the AI models that you will build in so as to offer personalized career guidances or career guidances to employees, and helping them also figure out what kind of a career path or career models that they can adopt to is going to enhance the whole experience. And hence, I think AI will play a huge role in terms of personalizing experiences in our lives, not just in corporates, but in our lives, which is going to help us, remain excited about AI and its capabilities, especially in terms of creating experience.
Great. Great. So I think that's a very balanced view on that. On one side, we're looking at bias. The other side, the possibility remains hugely promising. But I had a slightly connected question. Now, when you're talking about large organizations, one of the things that we've seen is the ability to move fast and take decisions on newer products or newer transformation projects. It's kind of a little slow. It's not the kind of speed that you would want. And I think it could also be because there's a lot of centralized decision making. If you're taking global corporations, there's a central team, there's a localized team. So in terms of doing technology and technology-led transformation projects, how do you balance that, Harsh? In your experience, you've got local needs which might be very, very different. India is a very large market. APAC is a very large market. You have a lot of experience there. Europe is a very different mindset altogether. So how do we do this in a centralized, non-centralized? How do we balance that?
I think the answer does not lie at the extremes. Answer lies somewhere in the middle, where you have to come, in terms of, and also the answer lies in terms of empowerment. That for an organization which has a huge global presence and which has also a huge Indian presence, there would be certain things that you would do at a global level, but you will have to empower your local footprint, or your local entities also have their own local identity and local empowerment to create models or create frameworks that work best for them in the local context and in the local culture. You may not be able to have models which where one a single models that fit across the globe. There could be certain models that are global models and are generic models that could go across the globe, but you probably will need to give certain amount of empowerment to your local entities to create policies, frameworks which work best in a certain geography or in a certain culture. So I don't think so the answer lies in terms of not adapting to anything global or keeping everything local, but I think the answer lies somewhere in the middle in terms of creating those hybrid models.
Great. And even when we are talking about solutions, like for example, in your organization, so you hire for different kind of skills. There's engineering skills, there's technology skills, there could be gig workers, there could be contractors, there could be different kinds of hires, even blue collar, because of the nature of the business that we are in. So when you're implementing technology across such a wide spectrum of hires that we do in a year, just like we're talking about localization versus centralization, when you have this huge rainbow of skills and rainbow of kind of hires that we make, right? How do we go about evaluating technology? How do we think about new tech adoption? Do you have a different view on that in terms of, hey, each will have a different, or we try and bring in which will benefit the most for the most parts of the organization? How do you view that, Harsh?
I think for me, technology will always is enabler. So your why or your purpose has to be clear. Why, what do you intend to achieve at the end of the day? And then you try to look at in terms of, now if the why is in terms of automating a certain process or say getting better insights about candidates, then you go after and try to look for technologies that would best fit the purpose that you set out to achieve, right? Whether, it could be in terms of, if you are doing mass recruitment, then you need an application management system that can provide you those kind of capabilities of doing mass recruitment at scale, right? So, or on the other hand, if you need to better assess capabilities, then you need a technology that you could build in based on your leadership principles or your your values of your company, and then you try to look at those models and so on and so forth to get better insight. So I think the purpose and the why is the most crucial while selecting technology, to build better processes.
Right. And we spoke about a lot of things which are kind of legacy to transformation. We spoke about bottlenecks, we spoke about bias, we spoke about opportunities. I'm going to look a little forward, Harsh. I'm going to look like a decade from now on, right? And I had a few questions on how this is going to unfold in the world of HR. The first question is, now, a lot of change has happened. People are talking about with AI, with data being an enabler for AI, and with enterprise data and enterprise data harvesting and management happening at scale for AI-led systems within enterprises. A lot of the functions within HR could become like AI-led shared services, like HR as a service, recruiting operations as a service, global shared services for HR operations globally. A lot of things where tech will be an enabler, like you said, but there's going to be a lot of consolidation. There's going to be a lot of role changes, shifts in the way people are going to approach their work, etc. Do you see this as something in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, or even maybe in the next 2 years?
I see this probably in beyond the next 5 years. I think the next 5 years is going to be all about transformation, all about shifting from, transiting from your current roles to the prospective roles and so on and so forth. I think the next 5 years will be all about transformation before we get into a completely more automated or an AI driven world. Yes, I feel we are into a middle of a big transformation. But I don't think so it is going to hit us in 2 years. I think it will take those 5 years, but beyond those 5 years, we will definitely see the roles more evolved, and especially HR roles, which are a combination of human and technology.
Lovely. I agree with you. I think it might be a little too premature to talk about that complete transformation, but I think we are right in that journey. I would love to continue this conversation, Harsh, as I always love talking to you and hearing from your from your side on a lot of these topics. But I want to end our conversation today in the interest of time. One advice that you will give to HR professionals who are living in a very different AI-driven workplace where they're going to be challenged in a different way. What would you give us an advice to those young guys?
I think what I would say is HR is going to play a pivotal role in the future. Okay, these are exciting times for HR. Yes, there is a lot of chatter out there in terms of a lot of HR roles going away, but HR roles are going to create a lot of value for businesses in the future. So don't get bogged down. Stay hungry. And I'm sure, HR professionals out there are set to make a great impact going into the future. So, I am really, really upbeat about the future of HR. And I'm sure that as we as HR professionals, are at a cusp of making a great impact or creating history for our individual businesses and corporates that we work with.
More power to you, Harsh. I really, really loved that last statement that you made. And I'm also very, very hopeful that HR is going to be a very different role as it evolves. It's not going to be replaced by AI, but AI will truly augment and make them strong contributors within an organization in terms of every aspect of the organization.
I feel how the roles are how the HR role is primarily going to pivot is the fact that HR will be more about working with humans, helping humans demystify technology and the complexity that is slowly getting built up in life, and that is where HR will make its impact. Is my feeling.
Absolutely. AI is going to just make HR more impactful and more important as far as the organization is concerned. Once again, thank you so much, Harsh, for being part of this session today. Lovely talking to you. Some very, very interesting points, very, very interesting observations that you had on usage of AI and how it's going to transform into the future. Thank you so much, Harsh, and I look forward to more similar conversations with you in the future.
Thank you.